My name is Castillo and I'm a financial educator at the Credit Counselling Society. I work as a financial educator, and in this role my job is really just to promote financial wellness. And what I love about my job is that I get to go into communities like newcomers groups, mental health, addictions groups. I also get to go into schools and universities to teach about financial wellness. So part of my role is I'm here to do community outreach. So I make a lot of phone calls to different organizations. I might stomp the pavement to introduce myself to organizations. When somebody is in financial distress, it can be quite overwhelming. And part of our job is to promote financial wellness by going into, for example, workplaces. On average, an employee will lose about an hour of work every single day if they are under financial distress. That can be very costly to companies. It can cause a lot of time off because of mental or physical health issues that go along with financial hardship. And so our job is to go in and teach financial wellness programs to help employees to become better with their finances so they're more productive at work, they take the pressure off, and they do much better. When I started at Credit Counselling Society, I was a credit counselor, and it was a very beautiful role where I had the privilege of helping people one-on-one here in Saskatchewan. When somebody is coming in for support with a financial counselor, it can be quite overwhelming as well. There might be some shame or some embarrassment that can happen. A lot of times people are fearful to get help. They don't know what that other person's going to say. And as a financial counselor, I had the privilege of talking to people and letting them know their options that we have available. When we focus on options that we have available to our clients, we look at 3 different areas. So we look at how can they manage debts on their own. So we create a really strong financial budget. We look at their overall financial picture, and then we use that as a way to problem solve. So, can they increase income? Can we cut expenses? Can we look at outside supports? Can they go back to their financial institutions to look at refinancing options? If those are not options for them and things are getting past the level where they can manage it on their own, our organization also provides what's called a debt management program. What's really remarkable about this program is that we can reduce or substantially eliminate interest on debt. And that allows people to pay off their debt without going through legal options to get their finances back on track. And we provide a lot of support and wellness going along with that. And then we also talk about legal options like bankruptcy and consumer proposal if that's something that's necessary for them, and make sure that they're seeing a licensed trustee. With my job, my days are very flexible. So my hours can range depending on how I want to work my day, which is kind of interesting and nice that I get to work my day like that. Usually what I do is I spend some time doing some outreach phone calls. On average, I teach anywhere from 3 to 10 workshops in a week. And then another part of my day is doing those connections. So part of our role is bringing awareness to communities about who we are and what we do. So Credit Counselling Society is a very well-known nonprofit organization, but we are small, but we're very mighty. And so if we compare Credit Counselling Society to all of the banks out in the world or the trustees out into the world, there's not always knowledge of who we are. And so part of the job is to promote Credit Counselling Society and bring that awareness into our communities, into workplaces, to know that there are supports available, that there's workshops people can go to get information. We also provide continuing education credits to service providers as well as financial planners as well. So if somebody is looking to continue their education, just like I have to do with my job, they can take classes from us at Credit Counselling Society, and I can teach those classes to provide that continuing education credits. A typical day for a credit counselor is having anywhere from 4 to 6 appointments a day. When I was a credit counselor, I would meet with individuals one-on-one. We would get a financial picture from each individual, and then we would go through their options together. When we go through options, we really are targeted on making sure that that client is aware of all of the information. It's really meant to be unbiased so they can make informed decisions and be empowered to get their life back on track again. Again, like I will always say, finances can be quite overwhelming. And so when we teach about finances, whether in counseling or in education, we like to bring it to a level of that individual so that they have a better understanding. Some of the words I often use is putting it into English, because we want to avoid using jargon. We want to make sure that people understand what they're looking at, and so they can make informed decisions. Growing up, I've always known that I wanted to help people, but I didn't know exactly what that meant. I didn't actually think that finances was a place that I would be looking at. But when I started looking into careers, finances is something that everyone deals with. And so that's really what pushed me to go into finances. I knew that there's a lot of pressure that comes along with finances. There's a lot of, in a marriage, people can fight. There's, if you're a student and you don't have very much money, you might be struggling, and how to manage that. So I took financial services at Palliser campus in Moose Jaw. It's also known as Sask Polytech now. And that started my journey on my career move into Credit Counselling Society. Out of school, I worked as a personal banker at one of the financial institutions in Alberta. Actually, I moved to Alberta for a number of years. And then when I came home to Saskatchewan, I was able to find Credit Counselling Society. And I will say that I've never wanted a job more in my entire life. When I saw the description of the role of a credit counselor, when I started off with this organization, it just hit my heartstrings, and it's something that I knew I was meant to do. And I will tell you, it's one of the most rewarding careers, because you can take somebody where they're in their most vulnerable and desperate situations, and you can make true life changes into their lives by just offering information. So it's very exciting and rewarding. In order to be a credit counselor, if somebody was looking to go into that role, they generally need 3 to 5 years of experience, either in finances, social work, or counseling. Along with becoming a credit counselor, you need to get your accredited financial counseling designation. And so coming into Credit Counselling Society, they did put me through a program as that. Along with that role, we need continuing education credits to proceed with that. Going into a financial educator position is a little bit different. The criteria behind that is having 3 to 5 years working in that financial industry, doing business development, or working as an educator. And then to stay within that role, you also need your financial education certificate as well. So our organization also expects us to have continuing education throughout our timeline. So we do need to put in our hours to keep up our education. As we know, the financial world is always changing, and there's different things that come into play. I love everything about Credit Counselling Society. I'm just going to say that as a whole. The reason why I love our organization so much is because we can do massive impact. Like I said, when people are in their most vulnerable situations, we can take them out of that situation and give them power and give them control and get their life back on track. And so it's extremely rewarding to be able to see that in an individual and watch that process happen. As an educator, what excites me is that when I'm teaching a class and there's questions being asked, and I can answer those questions, and I know I'm making a true difference, and I'm helping to promote that financial well-being so that they, hopefully somebody's not going to run into trouble in the future because they're being proactive about their financial wellness. So I would say that a student would want to go to school, so going into college, whether they take financial services, or going into university taking business or commerce, is the right place to start that track. Getting involved in your community as well can be a very helpful thing to get into a role like Credit Counselling Society in any of the different spots that we have in our organization. But mainly, what I would say is, if you love helping people and you want to make a difference in people's lives, then this is a job that you might be interested in. And just to follow that path, follow your passion with that, and do whatever you can to offer those supports in the community to show that you're making a difference. That also adds to the resume if you're looking at going into something in this industry. If you're going to go into a career of any sort, dive into your soul and figure out what you love to do, and then just find that job that interests you in that area. So again, for me, I just wanted to help people, and that's all I knew. And so by diving into that and looking at what options were available, it led me into a career that is intensely rewarding.